Well, they've did it. Just like my mother used to say when I was little, that somebody did it. You know what that means? That they went ahead and they did something. And speaking in terms of retrospect, it's done. And let me tell you a story. I'm just an everyday, natural, U.S. citizen. Paid my taxes all my life. Uncle Sam, you telling me I owe this? Here you go. No qualms. I've obeyed. But you know what? I'm finding myself getting a little, what do I want to say? Annoyed, baffled, and here goes the story. I live in a very large home, and it's just my husband and I. We have 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, etc., and etc. And to make a long story short, we still live in the same home we raised our children. Well, we also have a cabin 50 some miles away. And because of which, I'm not going to go into the story right now. If you guys comment and say you want to hear the story about the neighbor across our canal and why we took a break from going to the place we loved and owned, go ahead and comment. I'll tell you that story too. But anyway, we really appreciate our cabin. We enjoy it there. But, for the past year and a couple months, we have not gone. We've gone to check on it and whatnot. But above and beyond that, we really haven't been there. So, I would think this cabin or cottage, depending on the demographics for your terminology, I would think this would have a low utility bill. If nobody's using the electricity, it should be about $30. The cabin is literally 1,300 square feet. It is not large. So here we're with our home, and we have kept our electric bills down. We've never been shocked over the electric bill. Not yet. Not yet. And we've always been really, delighted over the $30 a month electric bill from, the cabin. So suddenly, out of the blue, we get a $200 1 month, $200 bill. So we called about it. We said, we haven't even been there. As a matter of fact, we haven't even checked on it in over a month. And I feel safe about it because it's on our private road and we've got title lock insurance and things like that. So, we've got ourselves safeguarded. But anyway, we explained to the chick on the telephone that was a very fast talker. She said, oh no. She said, it shows that you're just running that electricity like crazy. I thought, really? We haven't even been there. And sure enough, It is those darn stinking data centers. These data centers, people, you better wise up. You better focus. Do you know I have never gotten out of my home? I've never gotten a bill like that unless we've got the air on. And the cabin is now more than the electricity in my home. And so when they've been confronted over the data center idea, surely I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, where'd you get that idea? I said, well, no, you guys are charging me for all of the excess electricity that it's taking for a data center. And I said, there's one going up in the middle of our region where the cabin is, and it was put to a dead stop only in this past week. So that means you and all of the bigwigs have gone around and charged everybody astronomical fees so you could have the go-ahead. And we're too stupid. We can't figure this out. So I want you to know, people, you better wise up. A data center is not a good idea. They're trying to put one relatively close, not real close, but relatively close to our home. And I'm sure we're going to see it if it passes. I'm sure we're going to see it on our bill here at the house. Now, I want you to stop and think. Are you going to fight it? Or you're not going to because you haven't looked into it enough? But let me tell you, there's a lot of information out there to tell you the truth about them. A lot of information. And, now's the time to be proactive. They want to tell you that they have to be put up. The electricity's got to come from somebody, someplace, somehow. Why not be from you and I? Really, that's their logic. Even though, when you stop and think about it, there's no way that everybody. How about the people that cannot afford this? What is it going to do to them? I'm worried. We will pay our bill. But what about the people that can't? I'm baffled. I am so baffled. And when you find out more information, I'm not going to, give you all this information and so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that. I'm not going to be that one. I want you to stick your neck out and do your homework, just like I did mine. But you're going to be surprised to know who's behind putting these up and how they're multi-billionaires. And they don't have to charge us like they're going to. Now, I will tell you, when you stop and think about it, this data, think about it. When you send stuff out to the cloud, we need a data center. Every time you use your phone, we need a data center. There's a lot of just everyday use. That's why people that are very wise, they have urged people not to get smart your appliances and things like that. Sucks up the data. why somebody would want to get smart appliances. I'm not one to go for it. So, to each his own. But I will tell you this. All of it, every time you open up that refrigerator door, every time you set the timer on the stove, I think about all of these things that are now using data. How about, do you have an Alexa? What's the other one? Siri and all those. That uses data. So the more fangled things you get intrigued with, it's all the more that they're going to blame it on you, the consumer. You're using data. And it's phenomenal because they've got us in a vicious cycle. And I don't know where where else could this go? I don't know. But I'm concerned. We've got people that they're struggling. And I'm amazed over, what's going to happen to them. Seriously. And they don't care. These big wigs, they don't care. They want their money. So, keep on your toes and fight like all get out. If you hear that your township, your county, your state, whoever, doesn't matter, fight like the Dickens to put a deadlock on not having it put in your backyard. You'll regret it because they're going to nail you every month. And if you don't use that data, so what? You're still going to be charged. So we've got to be sharp as a tack. We've got to be wise as all get out. And we literally have got to stay on our toes. Because you know what? I'm here to do as much as I can until I leave that legacy that you hear me talk about for my next generation and the generations beyond that. And I'm not a bunny foo-foo person. A lot of people think, oh, she's just a girl. I'm only 4'9". They probably think I'm some kind of, pushover. No, I'm not. Not ever. And all of my friends can attest to that. Any of my friends watching this, go ahead, put it in the comments. They know when I walk into a room. And you know what? I'll never sound off unless I know that I know that I know that I am correct and I have got all the data that I need in print, in black and white, on paper. I'm a researcher. And I'll tell you what, I do it just like a bloodhound. And I do not quit until I'm satisfied with what I'm finding and looking for. So please do yourself a favor. Get fine-tuned over this issue, or it's going to cost you a bundle. And it's going to cost you severely. Because think about it. Can you afford that kind of electric bill? And that was without anybody in that place. And I don't leave anything plugged in. Nothing is plugged in. So, see, that's all the more that damn well it shouldn't be over $30. $30 a month. I'll go for that. Okay. All right, I'm done because I'm just worn out over today has been, with this flooding. We're going to get more rain. Then we're supposed to get snow. Then we're supposed to get rain. It's one thing after another. I still have a fight in me, but you know what? I have been up for over 24 hours. I had to get information. So my nose was buried into several books. And I'm at fault. I was on the internet too. Got to get that information. But nevertheless, at least I found out quite a bit. And, when you stop and think about it, the name of the game is we've got to pay attention and we've got to focus on who shot John. So have a really great night. And don't forget, be humble, be joyful, and be rapture ready. Good night.